All things real estate. Liz and Gina from Remax Diamond Realty. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us. And it's pertinent that you're coming here on this show because normally we do our house to home segment on Tuesdays. And when we last spoke a couple days ago, you were advocating for people that just feel so strongly about this bill proposed by Senator Regine Biscoe-Lee to be heard in the committee chaired by Senator Joe San Augustine on legislation that you've been very forthright about talking about. You don't believe it's the right thing for Guam. You want more of a voice into this. And you were also kind of had some concerns about the public hearing process and everything like that. So maybe just get us up to speed on how was the public hearing and how well attended was it? Was there a voice that was presented?
They only had 15 yesterday, right, Gina? I only
saw
about...
there was 15 people. Jace, I think part of what's going on is the timing of all this with and number one, we should be focusing on the Christmas holidays, but people have so much on their plates right now. Christmas is upon us. We're still in lockdown. We still are dealing with COVID. Our businesses are still locked down. A lot of people who may want to participate with these Zoom meetings, a lot of the families that are involved or will be impacted by this regulation don't have the means or the ability to participate with Zoom meetings. I know I have some families who'd called to say, can we go down to the legislature? And I explained to them, no, it's all via computer, and they just couldn't. So I still don't understand the urgency. I am still asking all the people at the legislature, if this does come up to a vote, I would say table the darn thing, give people more time, give the community, those that are going to be greatly impacted, give them an opportunity to voice their opinion when this COVID issue is over.
And also, it was at 5 in the afternoon midweek, which isn't an entirely uncommon situation. But you're right, that does make it a little bit logistically difficult for some people to go, because you may have to go home and start dinner, take care of the family, help the kids with homework, or you may be in traffic.
Well, I know I spoke to a couple of friends who said their parents wanted to participate, but they said, Gina, we can't go to their house right now with COVID, and they don't know how to get on Zoom. So I completely understand. I mean, so I don't think it's fair. It's not fair to them to talk about restricting development on parental subdivisions, restricting the building of homes on parental subdivision lots without waiting for this COVID issue to at least die down a little, so that these families can come in and participate in person, because that's probably the only way they'll be able to participate. So you're really taking away their voice, and I'm in complete opposition to that.
Well, and Liz, you've actually really emphasized the point that you yourself are, the beneficiary of families being able to subdivide property, and you have greatly benefited from that. You also plan to do that with your various properties for your children and your descendants. So now that we know that there wasn't exactly the maybe huge, massive crowd that you would have liked, what was the tone and the theme of the feedback that was presented?
Could we point of information first? If we could just let our viewers and listeners know that we're talking about Bill 404. Right. There was a hearing earlier this month, and then there was another hearing yesterday at around 5 o'clock. Did you guys listen in on that hearing yesterday?
We attended the hearing.
You did?
And
okay.
I guess because of a lot of the public outcry, the government agencies are meeting to try to come to some resolution to solve some of the issues. I think one of the things that we're looking at is introducing the type 4, because we keep talking about alternative uses besides septic tanks. If septic tanks are the issue, that's another point. They're just going to have to correlate that to the pollution or the nitrates entering our water system. But they were looking at other alternative uses. One was introduced 9 years ago, but was never utilized or approved. And part of the reason was because there was law didn't allow for type 4 facilities or type 4 type use. So it appears that they're looking at introducing something to allow for other type uses. So the system that was introduced 9 years ago, they continued to do studies on it, and it worked very well. And I think they monitored the nitrates in that particular system, but it wasn't allowed by law to allow for that in the regulations. So now they're introducing something to allow for it. We don't know the cost. According to Dave at the time, Dave Damian, who introduced it, he said that it was comparable to a septic tank system expense. But of course, 9 years has passed. He's going to have to revisit what that cost would be. But anyway, at least if they're allowing that to come, then we'll have to review other systems that are in place. And hopefully, if that passes, it'll be something that would be affordable to the local community, because, you know, that's a factor. But I think the first step is to get that system approved and allowed within our regulations. Without it, they can't do anything according to them. One of my issue too would be, okay, so if you introduce something and you introduce additional regulations that go with it, what we don't want to do is introduce too much that it becomes more of a hardship or does not make it feasible for a family to put in a system. So, I mean, good reasons for doing certain things, but then sometimes there's unintended consequences that become more of a burden. So I think, as Gina puts it, it's critical that we look at this. Now, I know they're reworking the verbiage and changing it so that we get an opportunity to review it again. But it'll take about 9 months to a year for them to get everything in place. So if they push this forward, it's going to probably be another year before anything happens. But we want to make sure that whatever verbiage is in place will help the community versus hurt the community.
Liz,
I'm
sorry. When we talk about that financial burden or the additional cost born of the homeowner, how much are we talking about? Because there may be some people that are listening to this right now and they're like, you know, okay, well, I know that, you know, the political side and everything like that, I don't want to get involved in that. Maybe that might be the case given the turnout last night. But if they're just thinking in terms of the raw numbers, how much more would somebody have to pay if that was the case?
Septic tank systems, Gina, are what, 10,000? 8 to 10,000 in a septic tank system.
And it depends on the size of the house and all that. But I think if we're talking quarter-acre lots, to put a house on that, I mean, you're not, you know, you're probably talking 8 to 10,000. It really depends on the contractor as well. But see, that's the thing. Well, you know, I'm really confused about the process because, you know, this bill's proposed. We've listened to the testimony of the government officials and the senators themselves. We've read the Weary report, and the Weary report does not say we know for sure that these septic tanks and sewer leakage is causing this nitrate. It says actually that it could be causing it, it may be causing it, but we recommend further study to implement policy. And then you get the public involved. You know, it goes out. Thank goodness, you know, there are some of us that are still looking at what's going on over there at the legislature. But then you get the public involved. And I've not heard one person representing the public that has come out and say, I fully support this bill, or I support this bill a little bit. Everyone in the public that has testified has said, hey, we don't support this bill for one reason or another. I think everyone's pretty much said we support the idea of protecting the aquifer, but this law doesn't seem to be targeting that. You know, I don't think this law will serve as a solution. It is just eliminating parental rights. And so you look at that and you look at the public and they're all saying, hey guys, wait a minute, this isn't the right solution. And instead of saying, okay, let's pause, let's look at this, let's go back to the drawing board. The concept is, okay, let's change the verbiage. Let's just change the way we word this. Why does it have to be reactive like this? The public that the government should be serving is out here saying, guys, this is the wrong solution. The concept is agreeable. We must protect our aquifer, but this is the wrong solution. I don't understand why it feels like they're continuing to move forward with this bill by just rewriting the verbiage.
Yeah, and just
I don't understand that at all.
I think feel a little different if we had concrete studies that were definitive that showed where the source is coming from. But I think that's going to take a while before that type of study could be done. I know they've been monitoring. I mean, this whole concept has to do with protecting our water. But at the same time, they don't have anything concrete to point towards the septic tank system as the issue. Now, if they had more concrete studies, I think then our outlook would be probably different, or our feedback would be different. But, and I think that will take some time. Or who knows, with new technology, maybe within a year's time, they could come up with a study that's more definitive. Because even the government studies that were done and the reports, they don't reflect a definitive.
Right. And if I could just read this, and this was from the Chamber of Commerce about Bill 404. It says, the bill introduced by Senator Regine Biscoe-Lee seeks to prohibit further use of septic tanks on certain lots located in the groundwater protection zone, regardless of whether said lots are part of parental subdivisions. The realtors have expressed concern regarding this measure, as it will unintentionally hurt families that intend to conduct a parental subdivision and prevent further development of these lots. If enacted, this mandate will also cause the price of real property to increase. And so during that public hearing, the continued public hearing last night, what was, I guess, the bottom line, the takeaway from that hearing? You mentioned, they may change some of the verbiage, but Liz, you kept referring to a study. Was there any indication that, okay, we're going to do a study to examine the impacts?
I mean, there's talk about continuing the studies, but we don't know how long that's going to take. Mm-hmm. So, but I think the important thing is, if in introducing the type 4 system, I think that will allow for alternative uses, such as what David Demian has introduced and others. But again, it's all tied together. It's a package. So it's just a question of how far they move this. I mean, we've talked about why is it pushed along so quickly, I guess, because Regine Biscoe-Lee is...
Her term is ending.
Her term is ending.
Right, yeah.
And this is a legacy probably for her, I don't know, but she's leaving the legislature, and maybe the concern is who's going to carry the ball after she leaves. We no clue. We don't know.
Well, I mean, if it's an idea that works, someone would carry it.
Yeah, right. That's right. But probably it'll slow it. It may be slowed down because there'll be, to look at studies, right, to work on the regs and all that stuff. That will take a while. Yeah,
this reminds me so much of the conversation we had yesterday and over the last few days about this bag bill, which is going to be, proposed to be implemented in January. And then we have,
it's on session agenda.
Right. And so, again, organizations and businesses are saying, hey, let's hold off on this. And we're seeing the same thing here. So how concerning is it that we have the senators just trying to ram stuff through before the end of the year that have, far-reaching impacts?
Chris, that's exactly the right point. Mm-hmm. That bill, they also passed that during this COVID thing where people weren't, I mean, here you are just struggling to keep your doors open and keep your employees working, and who had time to really go in there and talk about this bag bill that goes into effect in January. And this is another example of a reaction to something. You know, nitrates and pollution over the aquifer. I mean, perhaps our goal should be to implement the dumping regulations right now. I mean, you go up to GIGO, we have stories after stories that you guys have aired about dump sites, illegal dump sites in GIGO. That is contributing also to the, you know, to the pollution of the aquifer. And we have laws already in place. Maybe we should focus on, you know, making sure those laws are being carried forward and you know, being addressed. Go do that cleanup. Why target the parental subdivision people? Why target them? And, you know, in order for this to work out well for everybody, especially the consumers, you really have to allow time to study these new septic tank systems. You can't just say this is what you're going to do and implement it without understanding what the costs are. And are there people here who could supply it? Are there people here who can install it? And if you try to do this too quickly, you're not going to have a competitive market. People are going to get stuck with maybe one or two vendors, and that's never a good thing. These families that are on parental, they're already struggling just trying to figure out how to bring water in. And now they have to worry about new septic tank systems that might be really pricey and hard to get approved, you know, or possibly the idea of trying to run in a sewer line. Shoot, they're having a problem just trying to figure out how to build a house, let alone bring in sewer. This isn't the right time for this, guys. It just really isn't. And again, I'm going to plead to the legislature, please, if this does come up, pause it. The community has come out and said, pause this. Don't solve this issue on the parental subdivision rules. It just isn't correct.
Ladies, I wanted to say, because you've talked about on House to Home that, you know, you're coming and bringing this issue forth as concerned citizens and as concerned Guamanians, not necessarily in your role as realtors. But, you know, when Sabrina read that statement from the Chamber of Commerce, you know, they cited the fact that realtors do have feelings about this. Has the Guam Association of Realtors begun to prepare any sort of like position statement on this so that they would advocate for their members and therefore advocate then for your customers and for the homeowners?
Yes, they've prepared testimony opposing this, just like we have. So yes, and it's not, again, I guess the other day someone commented it's those realtors. This issue is not just about realtors. This is about families. This is about our community. And as a product of parental subdivision, when we've talked to other people, they're so upset because they're families that have quite a bit of property in the northern area, and they want to do subdivisions to give it to their children and their grandchildren, and then just finding out. And, you know, the word really, I mean, the word got out because Gina and I are talking about it, and through House to Home, the word has spread. But it has not reached all those families because there are families out there that, you know, when we finally talk to them, you know, the grassroots are starting to hear about it, and they're coming out. And there was one woman last night who spoke about it and said, hey, my property is further in without infrastructure. I'm struggling to try to figure out how to bring that in. And now you've added an additional burden for me. So eventually the word is spreading and people are speaking. So we want to continue that. And again, it's not about me or Gina. It's about our community and helping others develop their property, because the prime thing here is home ownership is critical. It provides stability for families. And my first start was through parental subdivision. That was how I got my first piece of property. And we want that opportunity to continue for others. Why take it away?
Okay, well, Gina, we'll give the parting shot to you, my friend. We got Dave Della Sola from the Department of Labor coming up next. But what is the one thing, sum it up in maybe 2 sentences if you can. And again, blood pressure, Gina. What's the
Right
most
here,
what's the most
Jace,
important thing people
I'm-
should know about this? Oh, there you go.
You know, the most important thing, and my plea is to the senators. Most important thing you need to understand is, and the reason Liz and I are so passionate about this is, we meet with the families on a weekly basis who can't afford to buy homes that are currently listed in our market. And one of the reasons that it's so expensive to build here is the infrastructure cost, which you cannot finance. So I'm pleading to the people at the legislature, please don't add any more burdens to these families. This is not a realtor issue. We're here as a member of the public who gets to talk to these individuals who can't afford to buy what's out there. And we want them to preserve the right to build on their lots. They already have a hardship. This law is just going to add more hardship. And housing here is already unaffordable. Please, senators, help your people. Make it easier for them to build on their lots, not harder. There are ways that you can address this aquifer issue, but this isn't it. And we're pleading with you to please consider that if this comes up to a vote.
All right, well, ladies, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Liz. Thanks, Gina.
Keep up the good fight, as they say.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course.
Anytime. You guys have a good day.
See you, ladies. We do have
Take
virtual.
care.
Jay, what do we
Bye-bye.
got?
Oh yeah. Oh wait. Before you go for the holiday season, Chris made his special. It's not just Banilla's doggo. Chris, what is it? The virtual.
It's pumpkin spice virtual.
Oh, pumpkin spice Banilla's
virtual.
I
doggo.
was just thinking.
Yeah, virtual pumpkin spice vanilla's
Wow.
doggo.
Hey, Chris, we can't taste it.
Well, I'll tell you what. If it's pumpkin
Well,
spice.
watch out. Maybe you got COVID.
Oh no.
Hey. Liz, that's his
can
words,
if
not
we
mine.
come
Okay,
over.
if you said pumpkin spice, there's a lot of base kids who are going crazy right now. Ooh, pumpkin spice.
That's right behind you in the virtual
We'll,
Zoom
we'll
room.
come over to get our
Come
shit.
over.
Okay, right on.
Yep.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day,
That's the
guys.
ladies. Okay,
Thank you.
right on. Yeah, I don't know, Bree. It just seems kind of like a public hearing. They're like, no, we're gonna go change the verbiage.
Yeah, and I'm
Seems
just
kinda
reading.
reckless.
I'm reading the statement from the Chamber of Commerce. I know Peter. He actually watched the meeting,
Right,
the public
yeah.
hearing yesterday, and he was like, "Bree, messaging me, like, people seem really upset about this bill."
No,
Like, really?
And I've been doing the house to home segment with Liz and Gina going on like almost 7 years now and everything like that, and I have never seen them be as basically restraining themselves from getting too emotional over